Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going to talk about why it's so important to do your due diligence when buying a supercar.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan.
I'm Josh.
That is Mo. I don't know if he's in screen or not. He might not be. So we have an interesting story about a client of ours who was hiring us to do some consultation, and we uncovered some interesting stuff about this car that made this person pass on the car, which we very much agree with it was the right thing to do. We want to give a couple caveats before we get into it. We're not trying to say this isn't a car that someone should buy or that it's a bad car. We're just saying that the car has a history that makes it questionable things going on, that you should be aware of these things before you buy the car.
The car itself is not the point of this video. The point is to tell everybody that you need to do your due diligence. Don't trust anybody's opinion. Get a PPI done. All of that jazz.
We've said this before that when you're buying a supercar, one of the things we recommend is potentially hiring someone like us to help you. And if not hiring us, at least get a friend or someone who is an independent third party who is not emotionally attached to the situation. It's really important to do that so you can have someone make objective decisions that are not emotionally based, because the client in this case was very much interested in buying this car, wanted to buy it, was ready to buy it, and then asked us for help, and we had to interject and basically, unfortunately, kind of break their heart on the situation. It doesn't necessarily, like I said, have to be someone you hire. But the nice thing is when you hire someone like us to do this, which by the way you can do on our website, normalguysupercar.com, I know, shameless. When you hire us, we are completely emotionally detached from the situation. We don't really care if you buy the car or not. We do. We want you to get a good car. But if the car is bad or has something wrong, we're going to be objective about it and say, this is something that is of concern. Background story is that the client had a car that they wanted to trade in on another vehicle, and it was not a vehicle that was in our inventory. It was at another dealership in another location. This particular vehicle is extremely rare. And again, we're not trying to beat up on this car. It was a Lamborghini Gallardo Super Trofeo, very rare. They only made like 150 of them. Really, really cool car, by the way. Yeah. Ironically, we had actually looked at buying the car about a year ago.
It was offered to us about a year ago, and we had passed because the main reason we passed was because it had been in Canada. For us, we don't want to have to explain to somebody, a potential buyer, the car's sketchy history. It's just not worth. Why was it in Canada? Well, we don't really know. So it's just not worth it to us. The price wasn't good enough. Obviously, if the price is right, we'll take it.
Right.
But you have to kind of weigh, for us anyway, resale.
So we started doing some more research on it, even though we had already done research on it. We wanted to say, dig further. New information had popped up between when we first looked at it and when, and today. It's not very obvious information. It wasn't right up on the top of the, like the Carfax is clean. There's no accident history. There's nothing to suggest anything was wrong with the car until we started really digging. Funny enough, the car had been on Cars and Bids. And I think that's when this information started popping up. And it was back in, I think, April.
Yeah, it was April.
So in April, the car was on Cars and Bids and it did not sell. But the discussion on Cars and Bids got really heated. There was one person who was saying that they wanted to buy the car and did a PPI and...
No, that was actually... the damage was discovered by somebody in a Lamborghini forum.
In the Cars and Bid listing, there was no indication that there was any damage or anything of concern other than they did note that it was in Canada.
Well, the other thing too was that the rear diffuser, which is special to that car, is factory carbon fiber part, it was black for some unknown reason. Apparently the previous owner had said it got stepped on. Seems a little suspect. Expensive part, maybe they repaired it and painted it black or something, but who knows?
Yeah, it's apparently like an $8,000 diffuser or something. What happens is during this discussion on a forum, someone posts the picture of a screenshot from a video of the guy who owned the car while it was in Canada, and the car had its wheel hanging off. Logic suggests it looks like the car was probably doing donuts and hit a curb or something like that. The owner claimed that the wheel just fell off, like it wasn't tightened correctly or something like that. That can happen, but...
We'll let you be the judge. We'll put the picture up and you can say, did this car hit a curb or did the wheel fall off?
Right.
We don't know.
So, in which, interesting enough, the damage to the diffuser was on the exact same side and the exact same area as that wheel that fell off. It was the driver's side rear. There's a lot of stuff that suggests that car probably was being played around with and hit a curb, smashed the suspension, broke the diffuser. They didn't claim it, which is fine. but then they're trying to sell it as if it never had been in any accidents at all, which is probably not.
This is also why you don't trust Carfax 100%.
Right. So we found all this stuff and presented it to the client, and the client's like, holy crap, like I basically had a deal. The seller had not mentioned any of this. The problem that we have with that is not necessarily that that's the seller's fault. Like it's entirely possible the seller would not have known it, except that the seller was commenting on those comments and those pictures on the forum and on Cars and Bids.
Well, we found on a Lamborghini forum a post where somebody had actually done a PPI on that car that was interested in buying it, had seen that picture that you just saw a second ago, and said, hey, I want you to look closely at the rear left suspension. And this dealership did do that, and apparently a bunch of things had been replaced under there, and unibody had been pulled out, or something in the suspension had been pulled out with a frame machine. So something happened back there, not just a wheel falling off. And again, this is just what someone said, so we don't know if this is true or not.
You have no idea if this person's bullshitting or not. I mean, it's the internet, right? But basically, all of this combined, it just gives you do you want to take that risk? And here's the thing. If that car had been priced aggressively and had been a screaming deal, why not, right?
I'd still buy it.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't care if the price is right.
Yeah, it probably drives wonderful. It's probably a great car.
The thing you got to think about too is resale. Like you buy that car, all of this stuff is going to come back up when you go to sell it. Someone else is going to find it and say, hey, what's going on? And you're going to have to say, well, I don't really know exactly what happened, but here's what I know. And that makes it way harder to sell.
Right.
And a collector is not going to buy it.
It really sucks because it's almost one of those things where if the truth of the car is that it got some damage, just admitting the damage and showing, like clearly they took videos of it when it was damaged, if it was damaged, presenting that builds the story behind the car and makes people more comfortable. So like if you have an accident, don't hide the accident, document it, because if it's not a big deal, if it's a minor accident and you prove it with pictures, then that's okay. It makes people feel like, oh, okay, I know what happens to the car. Versus, oh, there was some accident. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
What got replaced? I don't know. All of this being said is just do your homework, hire help if you need to, scour the internet, don't trust anything, trust your gut. All those things all come into play when you're buying six-figure plus cars. People play games and try and, unfortunately do shady things.
Yeah, and you can lose a lot of money really quickly if you're not careful. Do your due diligence. We can't stress that enough. While we were perusing the internet, we found some really interesting, we found some funny stuff. We'll put that up.
Previous owner utilized the car in some music videos. No judgment here.
Nope. When you're looking at a car and stuff starts to come up and you're not really sure what's going on, somebody said this, maybe it had an accident, maybe this happened. When you start to run into that, my personal recommendation would be to just walk away at that point. Unless you have some crazy, reason to buy that car.
And this is the weird car because it is so rare.
Right.
That it makes it harder to say, should you just walk away initially?
Because you're never going to get the full story. If there is some weird stuff going on, there's probably way more that you don't know about. And do you want to be the one to find out later on what that is? For the right price? Sure, maybe.
Yeah. And to be fair, like if this was just a regular Gallardo or whatever, 100% walk away, not even a question.
Yeah, definitely.
The fact that it's a Super Trofeo, if you had your heart set on a Super Trofeo, this is a tough problem because it is so rare and that might be the only opportunity to get that car in your lifetime. I think just having the knowledge and being transparent at least makes you feel better. So again, if you wanted to hire us, we would love to help you. So you can do so at normalguysupercar.com. And of course, we are selling our cars through ngsupercars.com. So check out those websites. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Support our channel. We do appreciate all of that. So we'll see you in the next video. It's going to be sweet.